are live, and I am here with John. And as you can see by his handle, he is at the Carnivore Teacher. So I'm so excited to talk to you, John, because that is not my handle, but I'm also a carnivore teacher.
And it's great to be with you, Cristie. I've watched some of your interviews and videos with other people, and the fact that you're a teacher too, I already feel connected to you. We have a lot in common already, right? And carnivores.
Yeah. I mean, between teaching and carnivore, I think we could talk for days.
Yeah, we could. We absolutely
on those couple of subjects, and we just met like right now.
I know, we did.
Yep. So cool. So thanks for agreeing to come on with me today and just talk a little bit of carnivore. And I'm hoping you'll sort of tell us a little bit about your health journey and where did you start, and then how did you get to carnivore?
Sure. Let's see. This is how I start telling everybody. It almost starts the same way. I'm 58. And let's see, I'm a retired middle school teacher. I taught 34 years, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And a little over now, almost 5.5 years ago, I was 53, getting chunky, putting on the weight, fighting it. In my 40s and 50s, it's coming on. I'm very athletic. I exercise a lot, but it wasn't working anymore. So I tried many diets. And they kind of worked. I would get to the point where I was happy with my weight, and then you go off the diet, because that's what a diet is. It's a point in time that you go on and you go off. And of course, what happens, the weight comes back on like with a vengeance, and more weight. You get on the scale and you weigh more than I did when I started going on it. So I heard about this thing called keto about 5.5 years ago. I knew nothing, literally had no education or knowledge and no nutritional background either. And I just started watching a video. It was a Thomas DeLauer video, believe it or not, on YouTube. This fit athletic guy standing at a whiteboard saying, here's how you start a ketogenic diet. All right. I took notes and I emptied my kitchen of all the carbohydrates and the bread and the sugar and the starches, and I put an app on my phone, and I learned that there were 3 macronutrients: protein, carbohydrates, and fat. And you want a moderate amount of protein, high healthy fat, don't do the seed oils, I learned, and below 20 total grams of carbohydrates a day. And you type in your food, it does the work for you, it makes a little pie chart, and you try to control it and adjust it. And I did that. And within a few weeks, the weight fell off of me. Like I said to myself, this is ridiculous. There's something to this. So of course I Googled from the Thomas DeLauer video. It led me to other videos, and I watched other nutritionists and doctors online. I found Dr. Ken Berry. I think he was the second guy I watched. And then Kim Howerton, who's a friend of his. And I just started adding to my knowledge base and changing things and adding things and applying things to my life. And within a few months, I lost 35 pounds easily. Too much. I think I went down to 40 pounds. And people said, you're starting to take this too far, John. So I went shopping and I bought a whole new wardrobe and spent a fortune, but felt good walking to school, in my thinner clothes. And I had a right. And that's how I started. I did that for 1 year. And about a year later, because I was doing a lot of plants that were low in carbohydrates, not knowing that those plants had anti-nutrients, especially the oxalate anti-nutrients. I was doing a lot of spinach, a lot of chia seeds, a lot of dark chocolate sweetened with monk fruit. As long as the carbohydrate count was low, I was doing black tea. I was doing black pepper, just all the things that are on the high oxalate list. Turmeric, cinnamon, I didn't know. I just knew it was low in carb. And then I got a kidney stone. It was very, very painful. Just like you hear, I had to go to the hospital, the emergency room, and they did a scan and saw it, gave me a medicine that made it move out of the nephron of the kidney and go into the ureter. And that's when the pain was really bad, when it moves. And I had to pass it. And I did pass it. I had it analyzed, and it was a calcium oxalate kidney stone. Well, here we go back to Google. I have to learn. I didn't know what oxalates were. So I learned about the plants with oxalates. And that's when I went carnivore, taking out all of the high oxalate containing plants, which didn't leave a lot left over. So at that point, I was just drinking coffee, having avocado, some broccoli and asparagus, and some coconut cream. And I did that for 3 years, and I felt amazing, wonderful. And, after watching Dr. Anthony Chafee and Ken Berry and all these other carnivores, Dr. Sean Baker, I watch them every day, a little bit when I'm exercising and doing things. I have my earbuds in, and I actually listen to them. And I thought, let's up this game a little bit. If this is so great so far, can it get any better? So I took out all the plants, and I weaned myself over 30 days off of coffee, just to see. I figured I could go back on coffee if I absolutely had to. Mm-hmm. And everything got better just that much more. I mean, significantly. It was amazing, very noticeable. So as of over a year ago, I'm a full carnivore. I don't have any plants at all, not even coffee. And that's how I get to where I am today. So 1 year keto, 3 years carnivore, and so far I'm going to be doing carnivore. Maybe I'll dip back into ketovore from time to time, but I don't really see myself doing it that much. But I'm okay if I do it, because I know I don't have any, issues if I go a little ketovore with the plants, as long as I stay away from oxalate. So I don't know if that answer was too long for you, Cristie.
Whoa, that was a great answer. I was teaching today, so what I had to do all day was a little talking. I'm happy to let you just talk all you want. But I'm curious, when you did keto, did you have any struggles with the tracking after a while? Did you find it tedious or I don't know, anything like that? Because I know for me, I tracked at the beginning your journey sounds very similar to mine, except my journey through ketovore was like faster and not because of the kidney stone. It was just laziness. Okay. Honestly. But I know after a while of tracking, especially the lower my carbs got, it was like, why am I doing this? And like my carbs every day, they're like 5 or 4 or whatever, because it's just eggs or, and I just quit with the tracking, at least for a time. Did you find that tracking to be tedious, or are you one of those that kind of enjoy it?
Well, I got really good at it, and I started missing a day because I was like, I'm working, I have a million things to do, come home, got all the house things to do, all the, your personal life and papers, so I was starting to get lazy with it, and I'd skip a day or two, and I just kind of faded away. And I thought, I'm tired of this. And it was a good thing, because it taught me what the macros were. And when I looked at food, now that I had done it for probably 5 or 6 months, and then I kind of weaned off of it because I got tired of it. It's like, well, I know what that food is. I know how many carbs are in that. And you know what the macronutrients are because you've done it for all of those months. I trained myself with the app. So yes, I got tired of it. Some people like to do it. You can always go back. I think I went back once a couple years ago just to see where I was. And I was off. This is when I was ketovore. I'm like, oh, look at that. I'm going to readjust this. So it has its place. It's a wonderful teaching tool to teach yourself about nutrition in your own body and foods. And it's a good thing to always have at the ready if you ever want to just see if you're still doing it right on your own. So I don't do it anymore.
Yeah, I recently brought tracking back as I've had a little bit of weight gain going into carnivore. And I'm not sure if it's my thyroid, if it's that I'm 48 and I'm heading more towards menopause. I don't really know what it is. It's stabilized now. But one thing that I would say that has helped me was just realizing, because I was very much, how you talked about like your yo-yo dieting phase and like you go on this diet. I mean, I did that, but to the extreme, right? So I was extremely restrictive of calories. And if the old me would see that I'm currently eating about 2,000 calories a day and just like happy and maintaining my weight and feeling good like that, I don't even think I would have believed it. Because I was definitely trying to keep those calories under 1,000. And there were points on like I would eat 1,000 and I would gain on that because I had restricted so long that my metabolism was just completely shut down. So I don't know if it's my metabolism still healing or whatever it is. I decided I'm not going to worry about it because I feel good. I'm not overweight, so I'm just going to let my body do what it's going to do. But I picked up the tracking again for about 6 weeks just to see, because I had no idea. I had only ever tracked for carbs. And so I was tracking for like protein and fat and like those ratios and just playing around with that a little bit.
Right.
It was interesting. Now I'm kind of over it again. I did it every day for 6 weeks, but I think really what I got out of that, it didn't help me with my weight any, but I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm eating and I'm nourishing my body. And it's like, wow, it's amazing. So it's really good to know that, you know, as that person who really had, you know, I don't know if I had an eating disorder. I might have, I don't know, because I wasn't diagnosed, but it was very disordered. Right. And so now it's like, I feel like I'm healing from that and coming back to, you know, what I should be doing to keep myself healthy. So I was wondering about your ketovore experience. And so what are the differences? So you basically lost all the weight on keto. You had an oxalate problem and went, oh, I guess I need to learn about oxalates now. And then you said, but when you went ketovore, you felt better. And when you went carnivore, you felt better still. Can you elaborate on some of those benefits?
Elaborate. Where did you get that word?
I'm a teacher. It's how
That's my vocabulary too. I wonder. Please elaborate. Pass it back. Well, basically, from the standard American diets, now I'm changing my vernacular. I'm staying standard world diet when I make my videos, but you know,
Right.
you and I live in the US. So the standard American diet, what I ate was cereal every morning. And I thought I was doing myself a favor by having granola and oatmeal and not the sugary cereal. And of course, you know, for lunch, I would have a salad with any kind of salad dressing with the soybean oil and the high fructose corn syrup and maybe some meat in there. And for dinners, trying to remember what I had over 5 years ago, we would have sometimes TV dinners with that, you know, paragraph of ingredients
Yeah, I did
that I cringe at now. Or go out to eat a lot. I would go out to eat a ton on the weekends. That was the reward after working exhaustively all week with the kids. It's Friday night, Saturday. I want to go out to dinner and just pick anything on the menu. And, you know, I was getting a lot of seed oils, a lot of carbs and sugar, and it just wasn't working anymore. So when I went keto and I cleaned up my diet, you know, my body just, I guess I didn't go through the keto flu like a lot of people do. And I think it's because I was kind of doing lower carb than most people who are on the standard American diet. Okay. I didn't eat a lot of pizza and macaroni and cheese. I mean, I did have cereal and things like that, but I don't think I ate like a lot of people ate because I knew sugar wasn't good for you. Even though I'm an addict to sugar, I knew to be careful with it. Yeah. So when I went keto, major difference. Weight loss, I felt wonderful. I couldn't get enough education about it. And then going, you know, after my hit on the head with the oxalate, you know, after I got through that trauma, going ketovore, all I had was a little bit of broccoli or a little bit of asparagus with the meat at dinner. My coffee in the morning, I would have a half of an avocado in my lunch, which is always eggs and meat. And I felt so much better with taking out even more of all those plants that I used to eat, because I used to have a lot of spinach salads. I mean, I just overdid it. And then, you know, knock it up again, knock it up to carnivore. And it's basically, I was almost lion diet. I really was. I had mostly fatty red meat, salt, water. I added eggs, and I also had wild caught sockeye salmon. So it's almost like the lion diet. And doing that is like an elimination diet. You're removing all the toxins. Anything from a plant is a toxin. There are so many anti-nutrients, even in broccoli, even in cauliflower, the diindol methane and the sulforaphane in those particular plants, they say is good for you. It really isn't. It's a toxin to thwart the animals from eating it. That's why when I was a kid, I used to go blech to vegetables. All the green vegetables I had, I went blech. Right? Kids tend to the instinctive gut instinct.
You got to cover them with cheese or something.
Right. Well, my mother gave me maple syrup when I was a kid to pour on the vegetables to make me eat my vegetables, and it worked. I poured it.
I bet it did work. My mom put cheese.
Okay, so there you go. And so that's how I still hated vegetables all my life. And then as I got older, I thought I need to have my vegetables because the message is you must have so many servings of fruits and vegetables to be healthy and get your nutrition, right? It's bashed into our brains in commercials and everywhere. So now I know better. I know what the body's looking for. The body is not looking at calories. The body's not looking at um, food groups. The body's looking at protein, carbohydrates, fat, vitamins, and minerals. That's all it sees when you eat. And you get all of that from animal products.
Yeah.
Protein, fatty acids, vitamins, and minerals. And we don't need, as you and I both know, we don't need carbohydrates because our liver makes just the amount we need on demand. So back to your question, I feel better on carnivore than the other two. And, you know, it's like a bell that you ring. I can't unring that bell. I can never go back and eat that way again.
Yeah.
I can't. It's in my brain that I just can't do it.
So for me, when I accidentally went carnivore. It was not a decision. Like you said, you saw Dr. Chafee and these guys, and it was like, well, can I take this up a notch? Let me try. For me, it was, yeah, I'm too lazy to cook the broccoli, so let me just not do it. And then the next thing I know, I'm eating meat. And then I was like, oh, this is a thing. Like people do this. It's not just but that's when I noticed like the mental clarity and also my social anxiety, my energy levels, my sleep, all of that is what really improved. I didn't notice that. I didn't really do ketovore, I don't think, long enough, or I wasn't really tuned in enough. Cause like I said, it was like this kind of slide that I just sort of fell into. Like when I was keto is when I lost the weight. And then when I went totally carnivore, that's when it was like I said, the mental clarity, like all the mental benefits, and then the sleep and the energy and all of that. That's when all of that stuff improved. And that's when I thought, okay, I don't know what was in that. You know, I was like, for me, it was some asparagus, some zucchini, some like sweet peppers here and there. Mostly that was mostly it for the veggies. But yeah, I don't know what was in those things that was keeping me sluggish and all of the, anxious and all of that. But it was like I didn't know anything was wrong with me until those symptoms went away. And then I was like, holy cow, like I had a lot of stuff wrong with me. And I just thought it was normal. I just thought, oh, you're in your late 40s now. This is just what happens. You get tired and you feel grumpy and whatever. You don't want to do things.
Yeah, we settle in and we assume it, and it happens so gradually that you just assume it's part of age. And we were walking around in a fog, and until you experience what you're supposed to feel like, and then you look back, like you just said, and said, that's how I felt. Wow. Like I tell people, I tell them my age, I'm 58, I feel 28, and I'm not exaggerating with that number. I feel like I'm in my 20s. I can exercise and jump and bend down and do all the things. I have all the energy, and I'm happier emotionally, just like you said, how you feel. And socially too. I am an introvert. I have to get the energy from within, right? And even though I was a teacher, I turned it on for the kids. I was an actor. And
you're me. It's like I'm right there with you, John.
I would come home exhausted, because they drain you. You have to get your energy from within. But I noticed that I have more confidence, more higher self-esteem. I'm more assured of myself. I don't know if that's part of age and a little wisdom because I'm in my, I'm older, but I really believe that this way of eating has the ketones in the brain. The brain prefers ketones. Your brain is made out of fatty acids and cholesterol. It just makes sense that you feel better and you and mental clarity. I tell this to people, and you'll especially get this. I had, every 5 years we have to renew our teaching certificate, and I did it every 5 years of my 34 years of teaching. And the last one I was ketovore. Okay. And I was teaching, and I need to go online. I did in the summer. I wanted to get this thing over with. And I had to, some credits you get from doing all these things at school. And of course, other credits, you have to take the little lessons and write the paper and submit it. It went so fast this time. It rocketed by, and the comprehension was skyrocket. I noticed a noticeable difference. on ketones than when I used to have to do it before. Like a little bit of ADD and distraction. I couldn't concentrate, couldn't focus.
Mhm.
And big difference when I renewed last time. I mean, I went through it so fast. So I don't know if you've noticed mental acuity improving.
So the last thing I did, and so Jay's here too. So Jay is a teacher too. He's a middle school teacher.
Hey,
Like you
Jay.
were. So he says, anytime I tell someone I'm an introvert, they laugh and ask how I could be introvert if I'm a teacher. Oh, we can do it.
Oh yeah,
Just get you turn it on for the kids. It's exactly
turn it
right.
on, exactly. Yeah.
So anyway, what I was going to say is I had to go to like in one of those all-day trainings at the district office, where it sucks all the joy out of your life.
Oh yeah.
Because you'd rather be in your classroom with the kids, but they yank you right out of there.
And you had to write sub plans, and you had to set your
write
classroom
sub-plans.
up, and you come back to the mess,
yeah.
and
Yes, all of that. So it's as all the teachers can attest to, it is way harder to be out
It
than
is.
it is to be there. It's way harder.
When I was sick, I would go into work unless I was deathly sick, because I didn't want to lose.
Yeah, because you're right. There's the writing of the sub plans. The sub can't do what you're able to do, so you kind of have to modify everything, and then all the fallout that's going to be
when
there
you come back. Oh my god.
So anyway, sometimes the district office pulls us to these all day things.
Yeah.
And it's a talking head. So all the teaching strategies that we're supposed to use to keep the kids engaged, like they don't use any of those. It's just a wah 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 wah, like the Charlie Brown teacher for 8 hours. But honestly, I was able to, like, there was a packet like yay thick, of the PowerPoint or whatever it was that he was using. And I was like following along and taking notes, and I felt pretty energetic until maybe the last 30 minutes when I was like, all right,
big difference. Wow.
3 o'clock now, but yes.
Yeah.
And everyone else was like snacking on all the stuff cookies and whatever. And of course, I'm not even tempted by any of that, which I want to talk with you about in a minute.
Right.
But I'm not even tempted by any of that, but everyone's getting up to get their more coffee. And I still do drink coffee, but it's mostly decaf now. I only have 1 cup of caffeinated coffee in the morning, and then I just enjoy the coffee experience. And so I still do drink decaf throughout the day. But like, it's what I'm trying to say is it didn't take like copious amounts of caffeine, to try to keep myself going or force myself to focus, or you can see like the other teachers with the glazed over, which I'm blame them because it's not exciting. But yeah, I noticed a night and day difference, in dealing with something like that. Not because I used to just feel miserable because you don't want to be there, and they're just talking at you. And I mean, I was actually able to, get through it and feel pretty okay and not leave there just feeling exhausted, So Susan's here saying, hey, teacher friends, 20-year retired elementary school teacher's assistant. We love our teacher's assistants.
Yes, we do.
We hardly have any anymore, but that's why we're so grateful for all of the ones we still have. First 7 years in Florida and 13 years kindergarten.
Oh, where in Florida, Susan?
Let us know where in Florida.
Be weird if it was my school, wouldn't it be?
And David said he's gonna meet y'all in Austin, and then he's asked us to pardon his grammar because he knows we're teachers up here.
Oh, it's all right.
I am not the grammar police. It's fine. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, because you mentioned being a carb addict a little while ago. So I will tell you, and I was a little bit jealous when you said when you went keto and you just took all that junk and just threw it out. Like my standard American family, although my son has joined me about a month ago, my one son. Good. I know, it's amazing. I have 2 kids and a husband. So my husband and my other son are still just basically standard American. My other son that has joined me is ketovore, and then I'm carnivore. But I was never able to just do the pantry purge because my husband is here.
Well, when you're in a house with other people eating that other food. Exactly.
Right. So it took some time. And for the first several weeks, I did a lot of fat bombs and things like that because I craved the ice cream or whatever was in there. Yeah. Like, all right. So I get some cream cheese and do some kind of fat bomb, right? When I was keto. Did you go through any kind of cravings like that? And what's your experience like now with wanting carby type foods?
When I went keto, I did all the keto treats, the keto lookalikes, and I used stevia or monk fruit. or erythritol mixed in. And I found out, interestingly, for anybody who's listening, stevia is very molecularly similar to ragweed, which I had a severe allergy to when I was a child. So anytime I would use this stevia sweetened whatever, I would get a severe headache for a few days, like almost a migraine. And then I read about that, and then I just went to monk fruit and it stopped. But, I was still feeding my addiction with the other sweeteners that don't raise your blood sugar. And I would make the brownies and the cheesecake and the chocolate, which gave me the oxalate problems. And I did that for a year while I was doing keto. And of course, I realized, I need to get off of this. So I just don't do it. For me, having the knowledge, I keep saying ringing the bell, you can't unring it. Having the knowledge, I can't go backwards. So mentally, I know what the sugar does to me. I know what it does. I know what my pancreas has to do. I know what my liver's doing. I know all the facts, the deep down scientific biological facts. And so for me, that's how I abstain 100% from eating the sugar, because I know what it does to me. Just like, if you start smoking and you inhale that soot into your lungs, you know what it's doing to all the villi in your lungs and your breath and your fingernails and everything. So I have the knowledge about what sugar's doing to me, all that excess sugar. So that's how I can abstain. And I abstain from sugar and now all the other sweet things too, the monk fruit and the stevia. I don't touch any of that, because when I was dipping into it when I was ketovore, I noticed, okay, I'm going to have one after dinner. Now I'm going to have it after lunch and dinner. Now I'm going to have it as a snack in between, and it would grow. And then I learned from Dr. Robert Sivas, who is the carb addiction doc. That's a sign of an addiction. When you bargain with yourself and your brain says you can have it, you make yourself have reasons to get at that addiction, even if it wasn't sugar and it was just monk fruit. I understood the brain part, so I abstain 100%. I don't have any artificial or regular, and to me, it's so easy. It's effortless to say no to everything, because it's just no. But if I'm at a party or something and somebody says, don't you want to just try this just a little piece? It's okay if you have a little piece. I know what that'll do to my brain. It's going to turn on a switch, because I have an addiction to sugar. And I know that I'm going to bargain the next day, and I'm going to think, I can't get a thought out of my head. Like if something's in the house, I know it's in that freezer on the other side of the house. I know it's in there. That's addiction. So for me, it's mental knowledge and education that pulls me on track and keeps me at 100% abstention. 99% is impossible for me. 100% abstaining it's like breathing air. It's so easy. I think Dr. Berry talked about, we breathe air, we drink water, eating should be as effortless as that. We shouldn't have to have these addictions or these cravings or these things that are yanking at you from all the different directions. Eat me, try this, try that, and when you're a carnivore, you'll probably get into this too. You're satisfied. That fatty red meat and eggs, just it makes all that protein and fat sends the signal to your brain that you don't want anymore. You literally don't want to snack or have anything. And that's how carnivore works for me. Everybody's different, however. Everybody has to deal with their little demons differently. It's the way we're raised and all the things that happened to us when we were a child. So, find your own path. But that's how it is for me. Education's my ticket out of it. As a teacher, to call myself the carb addiction, or I used to call myself the carb addiction teacher when I was ketovore and keto. And then I switched it to carnivore teacher when I went carnivore. Just the teacher part, education, knowledge is the powerful thing that helps you. It helps me at least understand everything. And the more I learn, man, the more excited I get.
Yeah, you said some names on of stuff in that broccoli. I was like, what'd you say? Sulfura something?
Oh, yeah. I learned sulforaphane and diindolylmethane. I learned
there you go. That's what you said.
The different chemicals in the different, I could rattle off more too on all. There's so many they're not anti-nutrients necessarily, but there's so many things in plants that when you dig deeper educationally, you're like, oh my gosh, look at all this stuff in here. This plant is trying to protect itself. It can't run away. It's got all these chemicals.
Yeah.
And it affects different people different ways. You know, if you're lucky enough to not be bothered by it, you can have some plants. Some people have a higher bandwidth, but a lot of people with the autoimmune issues, you know, you said that it took you up to another notch of mental clarity when you
100%.
When you ate carnivore. So those anti-nutrients were affecting your brain. You know, everybody affects everybody differently. I know I think I look better, and I know I feel better on carnivore. You know, and it's so good. I have a sign up here. In my room, I can't kind of show you right now, but it's on my YouTube page, and it says, "Nothing tastes as good as being healthy feels."
Yeah.
And to me, that's such wisdom. You know, it mean I don't care how amazing that brownie looks, and my memory of how delicious and chewy and chocolatey that brownie was. It doesn't taste as good as feeling the way I feel right now. You know, so
and I used to have to sort of say little mantras or things to myself to keep me from eating it when I was keto. I would think things like that, right, to motivate me to not eat it.
Yeah.
Now I'm kind of with David, and I'm not as clean as you. Like I just said, I still have coffee, and the other thing I do is with my elements, my electrolytes, I do the flavors. So there's a little stevia in there, but I've never noticed the headaches from them. So I must not be allergic to ragweed like you.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, so David is saying, yes, I reached the point a couple of months ago where cravings for sugar seem to be gone. I can be in a room with fresh bread, donuts, or cake and not really care. Yes, not only do I not really care, like I can remember what they taste like, but doesn't tempt me anymore. It's weird. I mean, it's good weird.
But if you had a piece right there in that room, you would, I think the craving might start up. It does for me. And I don't know if it would be for David, but if you stay off of it, I can be at parties. You know, Christmas just went by, and I went to several parties and gatherings, and it was all over the place. Yeah. And you know, I didn't stare at it, but I didn't touch it.
Yeah. And in fact, when I see people eating it, I feel kind of bad for them because I know how bad it is for them. And I like wish they weren't eating it. Those are the thoughts that
give me a microphone. I'm going to tell you all about how bad the sugar is. That's how I feel like I want to. But of course, you can't do that because nobody wants to hear you, especially at a celebration or a party. That's a topic we could talk about. That I don't know if a lot of people talk about it. Is how do people handle social gatherings, you know, rituals, birthdays, and holidays. I mean, it's hard for people. It's difficult for people.
So for me, I tend to be a logical kind of left brain person. That helps me because I'm not like emotionally invested in a lot of that stuff. I could like take it or leave it kind of, but I get why it is hard for people and the connection that they might have to, you know, connecting a food with a specific memory or like grandma who may not be here anymore. And you want to have that food because you had it when, you know what I'm saying? Something grandma made you or that type of thing. I totally get that. My whole family knows that I'm carnivore, and actually it does make it easy that my mom is like really meat based, like Dr. Berry, you know, keto. Yeah. So if I'm going to her house, for sure, there's going to be a whole bunch of meat. And then if anybody else wants the other stuff, you know, they just bring it. That does, or there'll be like charcuterie, like all that stuff that's carnivore, right? That I can have. And when I go to my husband's parents' house, they know how I eat too. In fact, my mother-in-law asked me about it one time, and we talked for like 3 hours. Not because I just went on for 3 hours; she kept asking questions, and then I would answer
open door.
Yeah. So, but they will always make sure, or we'll work it out ahead of time. So, like, she'll say, "I'm serving this." So last time she made a tri-tip. I mean, tri-tip is great. So we had tri-tip. I didn't feel the need to bring anything. The time before that, she made ham, but it was honey baked ham, and I just personally wasn't going to eat that, so I brought a picanha. So there was honey baked ham and there was picanha. That, you know, everybody could choose, you know, what they wanted.
Right.
At Christmas, my aunt, she didn't know I was carnivore. She knew that my mom and I were keto, and she was very nice that she made because she'll bring the dessert, right? So she made a keto cheesecake. So what I did was I ate the cheesecake part, which did have some sweetener in it, but like I didn't have the crust, which was like almond flour.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
felt like it was like eggs, cream cheese, and a little bit of swerve. I think I was like, I was good with that. And honestly, it was the coolest thing because I didn't want, like, the next day, I wasn't like, where's that cheesecake at? Like, I didn't bring any
That's
home, but
good.
I also wasn't wishing that I did.
Yeah.
Like, I had my piece on Christmas and I was fine. And like I said, I didn't eat the almond flour crust. So that's kind of what I do. My family knows. Now, it's weird. I haven't been to a wedding in years. And this year, since going carnivore, I've been to 2 weddings. I thought I was past the wedding stage, but now my friends' kids are getting
married. Right. Right.
So I'm starting to go to these things, right? And my good friend that I teach with, she's my teacher partner. So I teach the math and science. She teaches ELA and social studies, and it was her daughter that got married. And she's keto as well. So she was telling me all the things that were going to be there. She was like, here's what we can have. So like, here's well, I just ended up eating ahead of time because there wasn't a lot of just meat, like only stuff. So I ate a big old ribeye before I went. And then it turns out they had some kind of, I don't know if it was prime rib. She goes, I'm so sorry. This was going to be here. But I wasn't sad because I had eaten the whole big ribeye. We had a great time. It was fine. My aunt actually got married and it was the same thing. She told me all the things. There was several things. It was like really fancy stuff, but all of it. The only thing that I could have eaten was some chicken, but I didn't know what was in that sauce. I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
So I made food before and we were there for hours. So afterwards because we had a 2-hour drive home, we went through the McDonald's drive-through and I just got some burger patties.
Hamburger patties, a la carte.
Yeah. So those are like, if I'm going to somebody's house, it's easier, right? But then when I'm doing other stuff like those weddings, I just eat ahead of time.
Yeah.
And I'm satiated for so long that it can be hours and hours and hours, and I feel fine.
Right.
Like I'm not like looking for the escape hatch so I can go get something to eat like I would have done, when I was running on carbs 2 or 3 hours, and I would have, needed something.
Right.
So how about you, John? How do you deal with social situations?
Pretty much the same way. I when we're bringing food, we'll make a flank steak and cool it down and cut it into strips, and then cheese, and you make a charcuterie with those 2 ingredients, and everybody eats that up. It's not just for me. I mean, everybody loves it more than their own food. And then whatever's there that I decide I can touch, which isn't usually much, like you mentioned, I make the decision to have it or not. And some people know that it's funny that the last, it wasn't Christmas. It was after Christmas. I met with some very dear friends. They're all teachers and guidance counselors, and a bunch of us got in a room, and they know I'm keto. So they brought a big plate of all the nuts and seeds and berries and things. And then I pulled my friend in and I said, well, I'm carnivore now. So then she said, so I want you to tell me all about your new diet, like it's another diet. And I said, this is, there's a spectrum. Ketogenic is a it's a spectrum, and carnivore, I've just evolved into deeper keto basically. And I took out the nuts and seeds and fruits and plants, and she kind of understood, but didn't get it. And I felt bad because she spent a lot of money on all this wonderful keto treats for me, try to accommodate me. I didn't touch any of it.
Yeah.
And, but I do the same. I bring my own food. I eat ahead of time. At Christmas where we made this amazing carnivore lasagna. It takes a while to make, but it's just layers and layers of meat and cheese. And I make this sauce with ghee and bone broth, and it thickens, and you just pour that on top instead of the tomato sauce, and it's just so good with salt. And I ate everybody loved it. They loved our stuff, and we didn't eat any of their stuff, and they all brought all these wonderful things, all the cookies and the cakes and the pies and the other stuff. All of it was homemade, and a lot of people loved our food. Was gone. I had it, and so did a lot of other people. But unfortunately, they don't ask or want to go further. And very rarely at parties do people ask me about my way of eating, because I would love to talk about it. But every once in a while, and it's so rare, and it's usually a one-on-one thing. Someone will say, well, they'll ask a very specific question. Well, do you eat this? or what do you have for breakfast? And then they want to know. And it's like, oh, wow, it's a question. All right. Calm down, John. Don't, and I'm up here, or I'm over here on the timeline, and they're way over here on the knowledge line. So it's like, what, you can't talk the way you and I are talking about carnivore. You have to meet them where they are and say, well, first of all, I don't eat breakfast because that's, I like to extend my intermittent fast. What is that? Take it a little bit further. And my first meal is around 11 or 12 o'clock. And that's when I break my fast. And I take it from there and I talk and then you stop. Because I learned as a teacher, you just can't flood with all these facts. People get lost in the weeds. So you just listen to the question and just answer the question as basically as possible. And then they'll ask you another question. And like my younger brother, has watched me do this now for 5 years. He lives in Pennsylvania and never wanted to talk about it with me. But lately on the phone, I'm getting questions. Well, what do you do? Well, what about vitamin D? Did you take this? And do you eat? How do you make that? And I'm like, wow. After I hung up on the phone, I'm like, wow, I'm getting questions. He's thinking because what he did is he saw me transform. Because we've seen each other over the 5 years. And I've discovered that that's when people want to talk to you. They see you and they notice changes and differences, not just physically, but every other avenue, your mental and emotional health. And that makes them ask questions. People. And then there's the other people, unfortunately, that you're like a mirror for them. And they don't want to see you or talk to you because you're putting a mirror up in front of their face and they're staying unhealthy, especially obese people. And you make them feel bad because you look so good, you got better and they got fatter, if you know what I mean. Yeah. And that sounds rude to say it that way, but I'm noticing some of my friends are distancing me because I think I make them feel bad. I feel bad that they feel that way. I would love to help them,
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Okay, so David has a question for you. He said, John, where did you meet Dr. Westman and others? I saw the pictures. Carnivore Conference. Did you get a chance to talk to them much?
Yes. It was at Boca Raton. They had a low carb USA in Boca, which is right up the street from where I live. I live in Boca Raton. So I just paid for the conference. I didn't have to pay for the hotel or the airplane. And I went to that conference and I met Dr. Eric Berg, Dr. Eric Westman, who else? So many pictures. Dr. Ben Bickman, Professor Bickman, who he signed. I went up to him. I looked at him and I just held my book up and went like this. And he said, come over here. And he signed my book and I got to listen to all of them talk and so many other speakers. Some I never heard of before, but that now I follow. And some of them talked to me for like 15 minutes, like we were friends. I met the Keto Mojo creator guy and he spent like 20 minutes talking to me, not even about the Keto Mojo meter, just about anything. Just what a great guy. It was wonderful. So if any of you who are listening, if you have an opportunity to go to a low carb or carnivore, some kind of function, look into it. It's an investment. It costs some money, but I got so much out of that last one. I mean, I took notes. Once you pay for it, you're now part of the Low Carb USA community. So you get all these wonderful things in the mail. And I'm going to KetoCon, Hack Your Health, in the end of May in Austin, Texas. I'm really looking forward to meeting. You're going to? Good. I get to meet you in person.
I'm going to be there too. You can meet me and my mom.
We can go see Dr. Anthony Chafee, Dr. Sean Baker. Sean Baker interviewed me, so I get to go meet him live in person. So I hope I'm kind of excited. So I get to meet you and your mom. Yep. And Carnivore Soldier, I get to go see Larry.
Yes, Larry's going to be there.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Yeah. And David always compliments my beard.
It is pretty awesome.
That's the guy. I don't know. Somebody always says something about my beard. So I'm looking forward to that. They keep changing my airplane. I don't know if you have ever had this problem where they change your flight times. I'm like, stop changing. 2 times they changed my flight, and it messes up your your check-in times at your hotel. I hate that. So I'm
Oh.
hoping it stops doing that so I can get there without having any problems. But yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, I still have to buy my plane tickets, but I don't have to worry about a hotel. My mom's cousin lives in Austin.
Oh, that's
And
going to save you a chunk of money.
she's letting us borrow her car, like, because she has more than one vehicle.
Oh,
She's like, just
wonderful.
borrow a car, and like, so you don't have to rent a car, and you can just sleep here.
Oh my
So we're
God.
like, yes.
Yeah,
So
that's
we're
real
taking
cool.
her to the Brazilian steakhouse because
We're going there. Larry and I, we're going to go there during
wait,
an afternoon somewhere. Maybe we can all go together, a big crowd.
we all should totally do it.
That
So
would be great.
David's follow-up question is, did anyone recognize you as the carnivore teacher? That's what I'm wondering, if people are going to be like, eating wellness. And I'm going to be like, yes, it is.
A few people came up to me, which was really, I felt like a movie star. And they're like,
Right?
you're the carnivore teacher. And they shook my hand. I saw your
Oh,
interview with Casey Ruff. And, it's funny, the audience that I get who watch me, they're from all different, like this one saw me from the Casey Ruff interview. This one saw the Sean Baker interview. This one watches my YouTube. Somebody only does Instagram, and they're like, I follow you on Instagram. So that's why I post to different things and you get different audiences. Not too many, a couple people came up to me, but it kind of felt cool. They knew who I was and I didn't know who they were, and one lady, I think it was Tia. She wanted to take a picture with me. I'm like, oh, really? You want a picture with me? Like,
wow.
who the heck am I?
So pretty cool.
I ran up and took a picture with all the famous people too, as David saw, and of course I posted them because I was like a little kid at one of those things. You're in a large room with all these people who think the same way you do,
right.
and
right.
You don't have that where you live in the real world right now. Everybody, so you can talk and explain and nod, and everybody gets each other. And it's kind of cool. Yeah.
Susan says she's talking about your thoughts about what you were just saying. People who are on the STAD don't want you to talk about the proper human diet, so they avoid you. I have to let them ask me before I share how I lost 168 pounds.
Whoa. Wow. 168.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Gosh.
Susan, start saving your money, because next year I definitely want to do, I don't know which one I'm going to do. I might actually do Ketopalooza, because I've heard that one's pretty awesome. It's usually in October.
I've heard of that one.
Year, but I can only do like one. Like,
it's expensive, and then if you're teaching, you either have to get sub plans and use your sick days, or I'm retired. I can go to them now, but the very first one I went to, I had just retired a month before, and it was Keto Orlando, something in Orlando. I forget what it was called. And I got to meet Dr. Berry, took my picture with Dr. Berry and Kim Howerton. So it's that kind of like gave me the bug. I'm like, I want to go to more of these. This is really exciting and fun.
I wish that it was like a week later, because I am going to use some personal days. I have to write sub plans for 3 days. Yeah. And because I just don't want to, I'm taking Thursday, Friday, and then the Monday after.
I get it.
I am. I got to write plans for 3 days. And then when I go back, I literally have 4 days and we're out of school for summer.
Oh,
just would have made it like the next weekend.
I'm surprised they're letting you, because I remember they wouldn't let us. They didn't. It's not they didn't let us. They severely frowned upon taking days right at the very end.
Yes, they severely frown upon it, but it's not the last day. There's a few that in our by contract we cannot do unless like we have to be like on our deathbed, right?
Right.
It's like the kickoff day, the big kickoff day, beginning of the school year. I don't even know what they are, but there's a few days like that. But our one of the things that's in our contract is we have 4 days. So we have 10 days every year that we get. They're all under the big umbrella of sick time.
Same thing.
Four of those days are personal business days, and they're basically, you just think of them as none of your business. So you can take them off for personal business, and you just put personal business, and they can't ask you why or any of that.
Right.
So I've used one personal business day, and I still have 3. So I'm using them to go to Austin.
I remember that. Having to think about those days.
From Austin, because I don't want that to be like after I get back, I'll post later.
Yeah.
But I'm not.
Oh, I see why. Yeah.
My socials from Austin while I'm there.
Right. I do that sometimes when I take a trip. I don't want people to know where I am when I'm there.
Yeah, but if the school district gets wind of that I'm there and I'm posting from Austin, I just don't there could be backlash from that.
I get it. I get it.
Because
I won't tell on you. I promise.
Necessarily for a trip, but yeah, David's not wrong. He's like, Cristie, it's not like you're going to be fired. Yeah, it would take a lot to get rid of me, and I don't think taking 3 personal business days and using them for my personal business counts. So now I probably should have started and I didn't, but someone up here mentioned picanha. I was wondering, John, have you tried, here we go. Have you tried picanha? Because it's like I think it's right up there with ribeye for my favorite.
Just had it for dinner tonight.
No, you did not.
Yeah,
oh
I did.
My God.
Isn't that a coincidence? Okay. On my Traeger grill. And the way I do picanha, I mean, there's many ways to do it. And what I do is I love all that fat, that big lip of fat. So I actually take a very sharp knife and I cut a lot of that fat off. I put it in my food processor and I put it in Tupperware in the refrigerator. And I use that fat and I mix it with butter when I make all these other things that I have other meals, right? Okay. Because it's so much fat. There's still a ton of fat left over. And then picanha is kind of thinner and then thicker. So I take a tenderizer mallet and I bang the living heck out of it so that it's as even. It's kind of even all around. Okay. And it's about the thickness of a good ribeye steak. I pound the sucker. And then I dry brine it. I learned how to dry brine all my meat, my bigger pieces of meat. I dry brine in the refrigerator and with salt. And then just cook it on the grill like a steak. And it's so good. It's not the most tender cut of meat, but the flavor, I don't know why this steak has such an amazing flavor. And it's fascinating, the different parts of the beef cattle, how their flavor is different. Yeah. Love picanha. Love it, love it, love it. How do you make yours?
Yeah, I cook it more like a roast. So when I first made them, and I don't do this anymore just because lazy. I do a lot. I get rid of a lot of stuff because lazy.
It's a good way.
But it is good. So I take a butter. I don't do the butter anymore. I just do the smoked salt now. But I was using butter, and then when I stopped doing that, it still tastes good. So I just stopped doing it. But you just make butter really soft, or like room temperature butter, or like put it in the microwave to get it soft enough, and then you just like slather the whole outside of that with butter. And then you salt. Actually, before the butter, I would rub the salt into the meat. And I use the Redmond the hickory smoked salt.
I have that.
Rub that into the meat. And I don't measure. I watched a video of yours today, and you're like, I don't really measure. And I'm like, me neither.
Oh, which one? The poach and egg one?
The poach and egg one. You're like, about that much vinegar.
People used to ask me, well, how much of this and how much of that? And I'm like, I don't know. I just do it.
I know. In my cooking videos, too, I'm like, I don't measure stuff. It's funny. But so just as much salt as I think looks good. And I rub that into meat. And then when I was doing butter, same thing. I would just kind of slather the butter all over. Then I crank up the oven to 500 degrees. And when it's hot, you put it in. So let's say it's like a 3-pound picanha. So then it's like 5 minutes per pound. So about 15 minutes. I might go a little under if it gets to be that big. If it's like a 2-pound picanha, 10 minutes is pretty good. Anyways, about 5 minutes per pound of meat. At 500 degrees. And then you just turn off the oven and just let it ride in the oven for anywhere from 1.5 hours to 2 hours. It kind of depends on your oven. So some people have told me when they've done the 2 hours, they like it a little more rare. So then you just go for like 1.5 hours. But you just let the oven kind of naturally lower in temperature. And oh my gosh, it's like pink all the way through. Most of the time it is pretty tender, actually. Yeah. Not as tender as ribeye, but it
not
makes
like
it
ribeye. Yeah, that's what I meant.
More tender doing that. And I feel, and I leave. So do you get your picanha from like a butcher? Because there's fat on my picanha, but mine are from Walmart. And I mean, I don't take.
That's where I get mine. I get mine they have a big old tub of them, right? In Walmart, and I just get it at Walmart. I would love to get grass-fed, grass-finished, from a butcher and everything, or locally sourced. And I don't have farms close enough to me here. I could drive about an hour. I haven't done that yet. And, we shop at Walmart, be honest with you. And we have Publix grocery store here. So Publix, we have Fresh Market, and we have Sprouts. Yeah. So
I got a grass-fed, grass-finished picanha, but they had cut off the whole fat cap. There's like no fat cap. The only reason I bought it was because I wanted to compare the grass. I was at my rancher, which is
how was it? Yeah.
So I have not made the picanha yet.
Oh,
honestly,
okay.
I just went about 3-4 weeks ago. and I've been eating some of the other stuff, but I find that honestly, this might get me, I might have to lose my carnivore card over this, but I don't really like the grass finished meat. Like it tastes like grass to me. It tastes like how wet grass smells.
Oh, wow.
Is what I'm finding.
I
So
find the grass finished to be gamier. There's like
yeah,
a metally taste. I don't know how to describe it.
yeah, I taste grass. I
And
mean, I'm not grass
grain
most.
finished tastes better. You're right. Yeah.
So you know, I'm paying. So actually, the first thing that I ate was like this roast that I just did in my crock pot, and it was super good. And I was like, oh, this, and it was grass finished, and it was like super good. I don't know if it was like the seasoning I used. I don't know, but I've had a couple of steaks. I haven't tried the burgers yet. I got what they call a steak lovers box. There's not really many. They should just say beef box. I don't know, but anyways, it's like a variety. Let's just say.
Yeah.
And I haven't liked anything except for that roast. And I bought a picanha separate because I could see that it didn't have the fat cap. But picanha is my jam. And I'm like, I just want to try this grass finished. That was before I had, tasted any. But I will say that we ordered a half a cow from them, and I changed my order to grain finished because I mean, we're spending however much it is for half a cow. I say we because it's myself, my mom, and my brother.
You want it to taste,
on half a cow, but it's like, it's cheaper per pound. It's like $2.55 a pound. That doesn't include the butchering cost, the cost of butchering. And
now
stuff.
you have a freezer, another freezer other than the refrigerator in your kitchen?
Yes.
I didn't have one. I went and bought one when I became a carnivore. I bought one so I could stuff it with
purchase
meat.
ever.
It is.
In my garage because that's how I can afford to eat so many ribeyes because I buy them when they're anywhere. If they go between $6.99 to $8.99, anywhere in that range, I fill that freezer up. And so because I can't afford it, at full price.
And ribeyes are my favorite by far. I love them.
They're so good. So every weekend I make a picanha, and then the rest of the week I'm either eating ribeye or burger patty, or if the ribeye has not gone on sale and all my ribeyes are gone, I will eat a chuck eye.
Now, that's one that I discovered too. Very recently from the Bearded Butchers. Have you heard of these guys?
Yes.
All right. So I discovered them and freaked out and watched a million videos of them putting everything on the table in the shape of the cow. I bought one of their knives. I really got into them. And I didn't know what that was. I went and found, they're not hard to, they're kind of difficult to find, at least where I live. And every once in a while I'll find those chuck eye steaks. And it's like a poor man's ribeye. It tastes, it's soft and tender, and the taste is like ribeye, but it's a little rubberier. But it's so good. Love it.
Yeah. And it's nice because where I live, they're $7.99 a pound, like all the time. Like that's the regular price. Good. They occasionally go on sale, those chuck eyes. But yeah, if I can't get ribeye, then I do that. David would like to know, I don't know what my thoughts are because I would not do this because I keep all that fat cap on the picanha and eat it with the meat. But he wants to know if you have thoughts on removing the fat cap and air frying it. Man, it seems like that would be a crunchy love fest.
Try it. You could try it for sure. Do you air fry anything?
I personally have an air fryer that I just got. I got it for Christmas for my in-laws, but it's not one of the basket ones. It's one of the multi-function. Like it could be a toaster oven, it could be an air fryer,
all right,
it could be all the things, which I kind of wanted because we had a toaster oven. I didn't have room for a toaster oven and a separate air fryer because our house is small. So I wanted one of those so that we could just 86 the toaster oven and kind of replace it with something that does a little bit more. So, but David is vouching for my method here, John. I've done 2 picanha roast using Cristie's method. Superb.
All right.
Give it a try, carnivore teacher.
I'll try it that way. 500 in the oven. What did you say? 5
minutes per
5
pound.
Minutes per pound. Then turn the oven off.
3 minutes. I do a little less than that, or 3 pounds. Like I'll do more like 12 and a half minutes because I do like it a little more on the rare side.
Oh yeah, I do too. I do too because it continues to cook. When by the time you put it on the table. And then I also never cut into meat right away. I let it sit 10 minutes, maybe 7 minutes, and then the juices reabsorb back into any meat that you make. So if you're doing it rare, it's really almost between rare, medium rare by the time you cut into it because it's still cooking. I'll try it. I'll try that method next time.
Give it a try and shoot me a message or an email. Let me know.
All right. All right. We'll do that.
It is really good. Well, Susan says that she eats mainly chuck roast. I've been eating a lot of chuck roast lately because my son likes it. he really likes chuck roast. We had one a couple nights ago.
Good
Anyways,
stuff.
hamburger, eggs, and bacon. So I know you said, I think you eat eggs every day, John. Is that right?
Every day, every day. For my first meal of the day, I have at least 4 eggs, and then sometimes I'll poach 2 eggs and let them break on top of my ribeye or my hamburger meat. It's like a
So
sauce.
good.
It's so
Yeah,
good.
yeah. I don't do that so much with my ribeye, and here's where this is like funny to say, but on the weekend, I'm not afraid to eat a ribeye for breakfast because I don't have that thing like it's breakfast, I'm going to have egg. Like, no,
Yeah.
it's breakfast, I'm having a ribeye on a Saturday. But if I'm going to post it, I'll cook a couple eggs with it so I can say that it's
There you
steak and
go. Yeah.
so
But eggs are just, they're so good for you. I love eggs. You know,
I love eggs, but
so
my favorite, I don't usually do that with steak, but I do if I'm having burger patties.
burgers.
There's
It's,
generally eggs with it because I love that, breaking the yolk.
yeah, it's good with ground beef more
Yeah,
than a
so
steak.
good.
Yeah.
So good. So yeah, I'm with you. I had scrambled eggs this morning. Scrambled eggs cooked in bacon fat and with a little butter too, because I've been trying to do a little higher fat.
Mm-hmm.
I've been watching some things about female hormones, especially in thyroid and fat. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna like lean a little more toward the high fat carnivore.
And that's interesting to talk about because my body physiology and your body physiology, everybody, we have our 77 hormones, the big ones, the testosterone, the estrogen, the glucagon, the insulin, they're all, and your thyroid, T3, T4, everything is affected by fat when we eat fat and protein. And we're in balance. That's another reason you and I feel great emotionally. Because our hormones are all in balance because we're eating carnivore. We're eating the proper human diet. And we were not in balance before. I know I wasn't. I had brain fog out the wazoo and, chunky and emotional.
Yeah.
Could go on and on there. So it's definitely the way to go for balancing hormones.
So David is saying years ago, sirloin cap / picanha was one of those really cheap cuts. We grew up on a farm and we usually ate it quite a bit, but typically smothered in a thick gravy, not carnivore back then, the 1970s.
Wow. Cool.
That is interesting. I know at Walmart, what's your Walmart picanha price? Mine is, I want to say like $8.74, something like that, a pound.
About that. I don't know what it is, but I just go by what the price is on the sticker, like one whole thing is.
It'll be like $22 or something.
Or less than that, like 13, 18 bucks. I don't know. Maybe it's cheaper. Maybe it's cheaper in Florida.
Maybe
I don't know.
Cheaper in Florida because mine are at 22, usually in the 20s, but they're usually between like 2.5 to 3.
And then it depends, if a lot of stores will put that other yellow sticker on there when it's getting closer to the expiration date, and you get those and put them in the freezer right away. They're just as good. Always. This is one thing I learned. Always smell everything before you're ready to prepare them. I mean, usually things aren't going bad carnivore wise, but every once in a while, I remember opening up, I forget what it was I bought. This is when I was trying BJ's warehouse, and I had to take it back to the store because I took it out of the wrapper and it didn't say the expiration date that it had expired. And it almost made me drop on the floor. It had gone bad. So it just stunk. And so ever since then, I'm like, I smell everything before. And if it has any tinge that it's starting to go off, I don't eat it. Use your sense of smell. A lot of people, we don't trust our gut instinct and our own senses anymore in our modern day. And we need to go back to that.
Yeah. Robin said she paid $45 for a 3-pound picanha.
Oh, that's steep. Yeah.
Yeah. The one that I got from the grass-fed ranch place was pretty expensive. But again, I bought it just because for taste comparison.
Try it. Yeah. And then you're gonna tell me too. I want to know how you like that compared to it.
It's sad that there's no fat on there. I'm gonna have to add a lot of butter.
Do you like prime rib?
I do.
Like a standing rib roast. I mean, I just look forward to that around the holidays. I just use that instead of, I don't do turkey. And oh my gosh, I just love a good rare prime rib. Good. I think I like that even.
One left because they went on sale for like $5.99.
They were cheaper. Yeah, they were cheap back then.
I bought 3 and I have 1 in my freezer I need to pull out.
Yeah.
So I mentioned using bacon fat and BK saying I'm using pork fat again to bake the meat and eggs. It tastes better than using cream or butter.
Yeah.
If I'm going to do chicken thighs, which I'm mostly beef, but I'll do chicken and pork, you know,
Every
here and
once in
there,
a while.
every once in a while. And when I make my chicken thighs, I brush them with bacon fat and then air
That's what
fry
I
them.
do. Yeah.
Mwah! So
Yeah,
good.
it is. We do
So
chicken wings like maybe once a week. And I did a video on it, how I brush all my wings with a
yeah,
mixture of melted bacon fat and butter and salt them and throw them on the grill.
Ooh, bacon fat and butter mixed
Yeah,
together.
take a glass cup and I just do
Okay.
50-50. And, you know, I take a real like a paintbrush, you know, and I just brush both sides, salt
Mm-hmm.
them. Mm.
I'm gonna try that. Half and
Oh,
half. Is it like half 50-50?
yeah.
Bacon.
Just
Okay.
eyesight it, eyeball it.
Yeah.
Gives it
Yes, we
that.
don't measure. You and I, we don't measure.
I
Just
don't
eyeball
measure.
it. Robin says she loves prime rib when she makes it herself, not at restaurants. Yeah, I generally find that to be true.
Yeah, restaurants anymore. I used to love going out to eat. I don't like going out to eat anymore because you pay all this money and you tell them I have to have the discussion with them so I don't have the seed oils, how I want it done. And then by the time it comes out, and if it is the way I like it, I spent all that money for this little piece of meat because you're basically buying everything, but you're not, you know, I said, I don't want the vegetables. I don't want the bread. I don't want, and then what am I getting? I'm like, I have to go home to finish eating.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I will say that it's been a while now because mine and my mom's birthdays are in October.
Mhm.
So usually in October we'll go out
to
like
dinner.
for a meal, right? So we went to it was like this little tiny restaurant. It's just one, it's not a chain. It's just a restaurant in this really small town, kind of by where it's actually in the same town where the grass-fed branch is, where I went. Anyways, and this place, so they gave us like these giant steaks. They cooked them. I think they did them on the grill. They asked us, like, we have an outdoor grill. We'll fire it up for you. We usually don't do it until dinner, but we'll fire it up for you. Or we can cook it in butter.
Yeah.
And then they gave us birthday bacon because they're like, here's some birthday bacon because they knew it was our birthdays. And they knew that my mom had called ahead and she was like, here's our dietary, you know.
Whatever. Oh, okay. Good for her.
And so, yeah. So then they were like, we know you're not going to want the birthday dessert, but what can we bring you? And we're like, how about some birthday bacon? So that was a really great experience. But I find that, yeah, when I go to like a chain restaurant, it's like that. And I really don't trust that they're doing the butter. Like, even if you say that, you just wonder, like, are they
even though you talk and you tell them, and if they don't come out and talk to you afterwards, like some of the better restaurants, you say your statement to the server and then out walks the cook.
Yes.
You know, because the way I present it to them is to say, I have a severe allergy to vegetable oil. Oh, well, what is that? Well, soybean oil, canola oil. I said, it has to be butter only. Well, can we use olive oil? Please don't use olive oil because you don't know what the heck it is. And then the guy comes out and he wants to clarify. And then I know I'm getting something that really isn't butter. But if they don't come out, and even though you asked for it, you're gambling. You don't know. You don't know.
Yeah. But I'm with you. It's very expensive for not a lot of food. I made a short about when I went for my son's birthday, we went to Cheesecake Factory. And I had called ahead, like I was doing, I didn't want the steak because it was a ton of money for a little tiny steak.
Yeah.
And I thought what I might do is try like the chicken Alfredo, but without the noodles. But when I called ahead and asked about the sauce, they're like, oh, it comes like pre-made and there's like whatever oil, like soybean oil or something.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, nope. So I went, I drank my water. They did have real butter, like little pats of real butter. I ate a couple of those.
They're probably hard as a rock, frozen, but you open them up, right? You
whatever.
smeared it on top.
So I did that and just socialized, with the family. It was fine. It was fine.
I used to not like to go to parties or restaurants with people and everything. I would cringe going. Now I look forward to it. I find it like it's a challenge for me. And I'm confident in my questioning. And, sometimes I'll bring this card that I have that I made that says no vegetable oils, and I can only have this and don't want any of that. And we do a lot of cruises out of Florida because we have 3 ports near us, 4 ports. And so I take this on the cruise ship and give it to the restaurants ahead of time. And they make my meals ahead of time. And they're real good on the cruise ships. Because they want to get the good rating. They want to make sure that you're very happy. So they accommodate you like crazy on a cruise ship. So I know I'm getting, and then you go to the buffets, they always have the carving station, which is amazing. They have all this amazing meat, Yeah.
I have never been on a cruise, but I know some other Floridian
Mhm.
carnivores, and they same thing. They do cruising, and they say the exact same thing, and they have
Oh,
a similar
yeah.
card.
Okay. Yeah.
Their Carnivore Journey Crew is their channel. It's a husband.
Oh, I have to follow them, find
Yeah,
them.
go find them. Carnivore
Okay.
Journey Crew. I do some collabs with Lori. You might have seen if you've seen my channel where we do cooking on the fly with Cristie and Lori. Lori is the female half of Carnivore
Oh, all
Journey.
right. I'm gonna take a
So,
closer
but
look
they
at that.
talk about that, and they made those little cards too, those
Yeah.
little allergy cards, and they said it was great because they put it in, and just like what you said, they make the food ahead of time. They
Ahead
get
of
their
time.
food
Yep.
fresh, it's hot, it's great. So they were like, and they even had the last cruise they went on, the chef even made them some kind of carnivore dessert, like without
Oh,
sweetener.
wow. That's kind of nice.
Some
You
kind of
don't know if he did it right,
cheese.
but
Who
they
knows? But they said it was delicious.
try. That's cool.
So
Yeah.
anyway,
Oh,
Robin would like to see
see
that
the
card
card
again.
again. Okay.
Can you do that again?
I don't know if you could see it.
Can you see that, Robin? Yeah, like that, right in front of your face. Then we can see all what it says on that card. Yeah, safe foods. That's cool. No corn oil, peanut oil, soybean oil. Yeah, that's cool.
And it says on there non-root vegetables. This is an older card. I took that one off. That's when I was ketovore. So I don't do the non-root. I don't do any veggies. And they're so funny when you go to restaurants. Are you sure? I said, no. Don't you want to have it? You can give it to the person you're sitting with. So I look at the person and said, do you want my broccoli? No, just leave it off. And then they bring this giant plate with this little piece of meat on it. Like they can't put it on a smaller plate.
Right. I used to not like it too. And I think that was before, like, I just didn't have as much, confidence. Now,
Yeah.
I'm like, this is how I eat. And can you bring me this? And otherwise, whatever. I just don't like, none of that stuff gets to me anymore. It's just like right off.
You and I are a lot alike with the way we cook and eat and order and teach. And now I was language arts and social studies. You said you were math and science.
Math and science.
And then I switched into government. I kind of went just all social studies. I taught government for a while. And then the last 17 years, I taught video production. I became an elective teacher, which was kind of different to get out of the core classes. And so I ran the television studio. So we put on a little television show every morning, the morning announcements. I taught the kids video production. And even at the end of that, you would think that would be more fun, right, than the core classes. It's still got, it's still kind of like crushed me with all of the, for those of you who are listening, we had a big discussion before we went live about our teaching experiences. Sorry to go back into that, but
no, you're fine. No, teachers have a lot of requirements, and what we were saying is they just keep adding more things that we're supposed to be doing without taking anything away.
That's exactly. Yeah. And I don't know if your class sizes will go up because I became an elective teacher. My class sizes, there's no cap. So I had as many as 40 kids in a class, 35, and it was just getting overwhelming.
My biggest class was 34, but remember that's all day in a room with the same 34 kids for
math and science. Oh gosh. Yeah.
34. That was before I was teaming. So it was
all you had the other ones. Yeah.
I only do the math and science because I've chosen to team with another teacher. We both agreed and our principal lets us do it, but generally in 5th grade, we would be just
doing all 4. Yeah.
Yeah, everything. So that was before I started teaming, and at 34, I have 28 now, and that's kind of small. 28's like a small class. Next year, our district needs 20 teachers, but there's a hiring freeze. So in California, there's pink slips going out right now for teachers. And there's a hiring freeze in my district, although they're not currently pink slipping anybody. So what that means is we need 20 teachers, but we're going to get 0, which means all of our class sizes
are going to go up. Yeah.
So that's what'll happen. But at any rate, video production sounds fun. I teach STEM. So STEM is not part of our curriculum or anything like that. So, but I bring in the fun. But anytime I do that, it's my own money, my own research, my own curriculum that I find or make, my own, all that stuff. But I really, really enjoy it. So the last one we did was like a lunar lander. So they had to make this lunar lander their astronaut, which was a marshmallow. And in 5th grade, I like this because you can kind of talk to them like this, like, don't kill your astronaut, guys. He has to land on the moon and not die. And they're like, okay. So we dropped them from like 3 feet. Not have any kind of seatbelt or like restraint device. It was more about the shock absorbance system that they had to build.
Yeah.
So they did that. And then we had one that dropped from the ceiling, which we measured, and it's a 9-foot ceiling. And the astronaut survived a 9-foot drop.
Oh, wow.
In this lunar lander made from straws and cardboard and tape. It was super cool.
Fun.
That one was fun. Well, at the end of the year, we'll do a Boston Tea Party. So they have to put they learn about the Boston Tea Party and history, and they'll have to we'll bring out the little kiddie pools, and they'll have to keep their tea safe. So they'll have to put it, make some kind of a vehicle for the tea. So when it gets thrown in the harbor, that tea is valuable and you don't want it to get wet, man. So keep the tea dry.
That is so cool. So you're going to have a little kiddie pool in the classroom that you're going to fill up with water.
No, not in the classroom, out on the blacktop. Are you crazy?
Say, what if it leaks? All right, out on the blacktop. Okay.
But yeah, so all that kind of stuff, that's just for my own. I mean, the kids love it too.
I'm glad they let you do that too, because some school districts, they say, here's the curriculum. You and all the teachers have to teach this on this day at the same time.
Right.
And everybody gives the same quiz. That's kind of what our county turned into. The poor teachers have no creative flexibility to do anything that they want anymore. So good for you. It makes you enjoy your job.
It depends on your principal. It really depends on your principal.
Yeah, I guess so.
So every single person has, pluses and, strengths and weaknesses and whatever. So a strength of my principal is she is not a micromanager. So she just
good for her.
Kind of let you do.
Hope she stays, ours come and go like crazy.
Yeah. So anyway, well, I just wanted to ask you one more question, because I know we've been at this over an hour, but I'm very curious.
Time flies.
Your experience with kids in a school setting, eating this, as you called it, standard world diet. Did you notice that effect on their mental state, their behavior? Was that readily apparent to you?
Teaching as many years as I did, and when I was eating that food, I didn't think anything about it. I mean, I even ate lunch in the cafeteria years ago. Mm-hmm. And then when I became keto and ketovore, I'd walk through the cafeteria, I had to pick the kids up or drop them off, or sometimes I would help out on certain block scheduled days and walk around and look over their shoulders and see what they were eating. And it is just the most foul food. It's all deep fried and breaded carbohydrates and junk and sugar. And then they have the candy in their backpack too. So yes, they would come back, all high strung from the sugar, or, falling asleep from the sugar lows, and, the emotional highs and lows as well. I was more conscious of it when I was ketovore, and they of course weren't. I don't think I realized it before. So I don't know. I saw a lot of changes within the last 5 years that I didn't like. And diet was probably part of it. Yeah. Yeah.
I've noticed, so I'm 24 years and this is my 24th year. And when I think about, I started in the year 2000, that's how it's really easy for me to remember how many years I've been teaching. So the year 2000 was my first year. And of course I did my student teaching in 1999. But there is a huge difference, because I've basically been in 5th grade the whole time.
Wow.
Yeah, my first 2 years I was in 4th grade, and then I've had 2 4-5 combos. Currently I do have a 4-5 combo actually. But I have some pretty high 4th graders, and they're essentially just functioning as 5th graders in that room. One of them today just goes, it just occurred to me that next year we're going to have a tremendous advantage.
A little 4th grader, you mean?
Yeah, one of my 4th graders. So I'm like, you're going to have a pretty big advantage. It's pretty good. But anyway, despite that, I have some of the highest 4th graders, in the school. So they're functioning as 5th graders now for me. But my point is that, back in the day in 2000, 2003, 2005, you could assign a 5th grader coming into you could assign them a 5-paragraph essay and they could knock one out. And if you tell them now to write a few words down, that's so much writing. My hand hurts. I'm not exaggerating. That's like legit.
I don't have a pencil. I don't have paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot of writing. Why do you
I
have to
don't
write so
know what
much?
happened. I don't think that's necessarily diet related. I think that's cell phone related, and it's
Mhm.
post-COVID related, and it's the way society has changed. There's a lot of little variables that I believe went into how the children changed within the last, I say, 5 years from when I stopped teaching. I noticed a big difference, like you just mentioned, where they
Mhm.
would fight you and didn't want to work, and the laziness. And I
Mhm.
don't, and I love the kids.
Yeah.
It was never the kids that bothered me. I mean, I could deal with behavioral issues or problems or whatever. I mean, I taught for a while, and I had all the tricks and the bags, and I knew what to do, and I liked them. They knew I cared about them, so they would work for me really hard, because they knew that I was on their side, even though I had to discipline them. But the last couple of years, it's like I don't have any tricks for this. I don't know how to. This
Mhm.
kid isn't going to work for me. I had to provide paper, and they wouldn't work for me. And we're going on a field trip. It's exciting. It's free. Here's a permission slip. They won't turn it back in.
Mhm.
Well, we're missing 7 permission slips. We're going in 2 days, guys. Come on. They could
Mhm.
care less. And then all they do is they go back to their phone.
Mhm.
Okay. I
Mhm.
fought this more than anything in the world. And we have policies. You're not allowed to use them, but they
Right.
couldn't take them away from the kids.
Right.
The kids were
Same.
allowed to keep. So they would, of course, sneak them out of the back pocket.
Mhm.
They're looking down, and had to fight them
Yep.
on the phones. And that's, I think, part of what just changed,
Yeah.
ruined education for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and and then they sneak that, and then they'll sneak other things. Like they try to sneak eating chips in my room and
Oh, yeah.
chewing gum in my room. And yeah, they sneak all that stuff. And then kids will be like, there's chips on the floor.
I had a
Like,
little mini shot vac I had to have. I keep my
contraband.
floor
Sweep
clean.
it up. Sweep it up. We don't want ants. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I just noticed. I mean, when you think about when I started versus now and what
Oh,
the
so
kids
different. Yeah.
could independently do, and then now even the parent attitudes. So at the beginning, parents understood that a fifth grade kid could do that work. And now the parents are like, well, I think you're expecting too much.
Right.
And I'm like, expecting to, you understand your child is more than halfway to adulthood, ma'am or sir. Like, trust me when I tell you, I've been working with this age kids for X number of years, and the kids this age can do it.
And you're now older than the parents, probably.
I'm older than most of the parents.
Right. And
Absolutely.
I was not older when I started, then I was around
Yes.
their age. And now I'm old. Now some of them have grandkids, that,
Yes.
and so the parents come in, and they're kids I could have taught, years and years ago. So, we're getting older.
So last thing I know, I'm keeping everybody long. First of all, Dropping Bear Survivor says 58. You look like you're early to mid 40s. So there's a nice
Well,
compliment for
thank you.
you,
I
John.
feel like I'm 28, though. I really do. I just.
And Robin said she just subbed to you. So yay,
Oh,
Robin.
thank you, Robin.
And I think it was Susan or somebody earlier said that they were watching on both channels now.
Oh,
So
that's
that was
cool.
awesome.
That's cool.
But I had a meeting at school, and both of the parents in that meeting, so it's a parent of a current fifth grader that I have, one of the dad, or it was a stepdad, but whatever. The dad was in my very first, he was in that class where I was a student teacher, the third
Oh,
grade
wow. Yeah.
teacher. And then the mom had me as a fifth grade teacher
There
a
you
couple
go.
years after that. She was like, you were my fifth grade teacher.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. So that's how I know how old I am. I am now teaching the kids of the kids that I taught. Yes.
It's kind of cool.
So anyway, I just want to thank everyone for hanging in with us tonight, hanging out with us tonight. This has been a really fun chat, John. I hope we can have a part 2 on maybe on your channel or my channel or whatever, because I really enjoyed this. So thank you so much.
I did too. I want to thank you for having me. I really enjoyed talking to a fellow teacher, and we have carnivore in common as well as teaching. Yep. And that just brings you together. And I've been watching everybody's comments here on the right as we've been talking, and you have a very active following. It's kind of cool. I like that they're asking all those questions and making all those comments. So yeah, I would love to come back again for sure.
Absolutely. We'll have you back. And sorry, Scott's just popping in to say hello. And Scott,
hey, Scott.
We're signing off. So next time, Scotty, next time. Last one for you, John. Deb sub. All right.
Thanks,
bye,
Deb.
everybody.
All right. Take care.
Good night. Bye.